Patience is an exercise in trust. Good day, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Monday Morning Moments with Mark. I hope this finds you well. As you saw in the open, this week we're going to talk a little bit about patience and what it can do for us, and I'm going to get into why patience is something that is important to exercise, and I will admittedly say that I need to work on my patience as well. But this week's episode is dedicated to my brother Dominique Corey Green, and I want to throw a lot of praise his way for being able to exercise his own patience in his life and his new job working as a chef for American Cruise Lines, and that's going to be a very exciting endeavor for him. So much praise to you, brother. Thanks for being a good example of what exercise and patience in life and waiting for the right ship to come along, pun intended. So super excited to see where you go with that future endeavor, and I can't wait to come see you at work, that's for sure. So getting into this week's episode, before we do that, we always have to have the funniest thing, and the funniest thing this week is my wife was using a word one way, and I pointed out to her that it could have a totally different meaning. So she used the word this word is super common in professional language, and I think we need to examine the fact that it has a more common meaning outside of that, but use of the word outstanding to refer to something that is yet to be completed. So she has an email inbox that says, outstanding, and that's where she puts items that are yet to be completed or that haven't come full circle on them. So she used this to someone, or as an example for someone else she works with, and that person kept putting tasks in there and filing things away or referring to them in their daily summary or whatever, reporting back to her that all of these things were outstanding even if they had been completed. And she was confused by this, and she's mentioned it to me, and I said, sounds like she's classifying the type of work that was done as outstanding. That's a much more common meaning. The job got done. It was outstanding. I classified it as outstanding. She looked at me and goes, that can't possibly be true. And I said, oh, it most definitely can. That word has two different meanings. And the other one is far more common than the way you're using it as something left undone. So it was pretty funny. And we had a conversation about the double entendres in professional language. So as a linguist, I appreciated that one. Moving on to this week's topic is talking about patience. Patience, and as I said, is something that I myself admittedly needed to work on. My problem with patience is that I go down the road, and as I'm in the process, rather than allowing the process to come full circle, I'll see a different way to do it and go a different direction with things, and not allow the original plan to come full circle because I saw a different or better way to do things. And that's not always productive. Now, if it's a way to help you avoid a collision course and you notice it, that's one thing. But there's something to be said for still allowing that process to play out depending on what it is and how much you can learn from the failure. If you saw failure coming at you, the severity of it and all of that obviously factors into that. But more commonly, we need to work on, I know me personally need to work on, not doing that. So patience in and of itself is a process and an exercise in mindfulness. And what I mean is that when we are in the decision-making process, we need to exercise patience to allow all of the information that is available at hand to come in, allow sufficient time for processing that information. And this goes back to something I talked about before, Colonel John Boyd's OODA loop, the decision-making process, observe, orient, decide, act. And in the OODA loop, taking patience to sit back, and it could be a fraction of a second, or it could be weeks or months, depending on what your level of decision making, what the planning part of that looks like. But having that mindfulness to sit with a decision for a minute is an exercise in patience in and of itself. Also knowing that you've done your due diligence, and when you do that and allowing the decision to unfold is super helpful. After that, patience becomes an exercise in trust. I'm going to say that again. Patience is an exercise in trust. It's trust in yourself, and it's trust in your process. If you do all of those things that I just talked about, and you exercise the due diligence and know that you made good judgment and a sound decision, there should be no reservation about allowing it to play out. For example, I talked about my brother Corey and him being a chef. If he has a good recipe that he's put together and he knows that when he's going through the process of making it, why would he overthink the recipe or meddle in it and try and add something to it? Or God forbid he realizes, this isn't going to turn out right, and just abandons it before it's ever even finished cooking. You might miss out on an amazingly great dish. You wouldn't want to do that. I know I don't like missing out on good dishes. So um, when we make these decisions, the point I'm making is that we need to get out of our own way and trust ourselves that we've already done the hard part. And instead of engaging in that overthinking, meddling, or even abandoning an idea while it's playing out, a better alternative is to incorporate mental conditioning. So, for example, Corey's going to go work for American Cruise Lines. That's a decision he's already made. Instead of stressing and fretting over, am I doing the right thing? Am I sure I want to go do, like, all of that negativity that could set in? A better option is using mental conditioning to start preparing for the decision. He knows when he's going to go start his training. Start seeing himself being successful in that. We need to take more time after a decision to start seeing our decisions unfold successfully, envision them. Be prepared that when what you planned for, what you decided to do comes to fruition, you're prepared for it. And the only way to do that is through mental conditioning, and it will reduce your stress level exponentially by positively preparing for the outcome you expected, and even positively preparing yourself if there's a negative outcome. Look at both sides of that, positive and negative. But at least when the decision plays out, you know that the process had time to run its full course without your mind getting in there and meddling with it, and you're now prepared to receive that outcome. So it'll greatly reduce stress when you do that. So take some time this week, look at some decisions you've already made that are still in the process of unfolding in your life, and start mentally conditioning yourself to the different outcomes that decision could have, and see yourself failing and succeeding in that decision, and envisioning that, and understanding that you're exercising patience to allow the process to unfold. It's super helpful, and I think you'll find yourself being a lot more happy with the decisions that you make and being able to live better with the outcomes that they result in. So have a great week.